A very good morning to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Wednesday morning. My apologies for not doing a West Ham weekly show on Monday. I've got to be honest. Leading up to the day, I was sort of asking myself, what stories are actually new that I'm not going to end up regurgitating? So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to sit this one out. Now it's a bit weird, really, because up until last week, we were waiting for the transfer window to open on last Friday on the 14th, and we had an awful lot of stories out, didn't we? That Tim Steidten. We got Luis Guilherme over the line, and Tim Steidten was still out in Brazil looking to sign another one or two Brazilian players, which didn't really materialize. We don't know whether we're still after any Brazilian players or not. But Steidten is back. He was back with Guilherme here in London when he signed his contract, etc. But everything went a bit quiet when the transfer window opened. There wasn't an awful lot of new stories coming out, which I found quite surprising. So I thought to myself, right, sit out Monday night. Don't regurgitate stories that you've already done and see what happens. Well, I've waited a couple of days and certainly a lot has happened since then. Now, look, if you're new to the channel, please do hit that like button. That's somewhere down there. Please do become a subscriber of the channel as well. That would really help me an awful lot. I'd appreciate that. So what am I going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to talk about more about the players that are rumoured to be leaving West Ham United rather than any coming in. I'll do another show. I'll do another update show about all the latest links. But, rumours. There are rumours that are normally split into three categories. Transfer rumours, that is. Rumours that have some substance. Rumours that come as a surprise but end up being actually true. And those are few and far between. And then the third kind, of course, are the rumours that are so far-fetched that you know that there's no real substance to them at all. And I don't want to call them lies or being, people being deceitful about what they put out on social media. But these are the kind of rumours that when you hear them, your immediate gut instinct says, that's an awful load of claptrap or guff, as we now call it amongst us. I'm sure that every team goes through this, the same rigmarole every transfer window. I'm sure that every fan of every team has been let down by the proverbial sort of rumor that we're here to either be selling one of our best players or we're going to be signing the next big star, and we, especially selling our best players. We get caught up in these fake rumors and we get angry. We see the tweets that are coming out and we start getting angry and we start talking about, oh, how greedy are the club for wanting to sell our best players? No, they're not looking towards the future. They've got no ambition, etc., etc. But what it boils down to most of the time, or most times, is that an awful lot of these rumors that come out don't have any real substance to them. And I've mentioned before that a rumor can start in many different ways. A player's agent might want to move their client on because agents don't make money if a player stays at one club, or the representatives of an admiring club might drop hints to so-called ITK journalists that they're about to start talks with West Ham over the signing of one of their players. So once that report is tweeted out, that spreads like wildfire. It only takes another one or two journalists to pick it up and retweet it, etc. And then people start to believe it. And at West Ham, we do seem to have more than our fair share of these kinds of rumours that usually have no substance at all. And the latest one, of course, is all about Jarrod Bowen. Now, I briefly mentioned Jared Bowen about a week or so ago when I said that Newcastle were apparently interested in the player. And as quickly as I said it, I dismissed it. But apparently this has picked up a bit of mileage this week. The latest rumour is apparently that Newcastle have had internal talks about putting in a bid of something like £120 million for Jarrod Bowen. Now, look, this is a football club that's struggling with FFP. This is a football club that no matter how rich their owners are, they still have to abide by the same spending principles as every other club in the Premier League. This is the football club that's likely to have to sell some of their players if they really want to invest in others. Of course, they'd be interested in a player like Jarrod Bowen. Who wouldn't? He's a player who in 2023-24 season scored 16 outfield goals in all competitions. He would have finished joint fourth top goal scorer if you took away all the penalties scored by players who finished above him in the score rankings. In fact, had Jarrod Bowen been West Ham's penalty taker, and if he'd scored all the 5 penalties awarded to us, he would have actually finished joint top third goal scorer for the season. So yes, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that any club would be envious, casting an eye over the likes of Jarrod Bowen and wishing that he was a player playing for their club instead of lowly old West Ham. But the reason why I find this transfer story annoying, a bit of it distracts. It's an awful lot of hogwash because Bowen is going to be pivotal to what Julian Lopetegui is planning next season. He might even end up becoming captain of the team. I'll be very, very surprised if we, even start contemplating selling Jarrod Bowen for any amount of money next season. All right, I know what you're going to say. Well, we sold Declan Rice for the right price. Yeah, I get that. But I don't think, given that we're looking at rebuilding a squad this season, given that Tim Steidman has talked about, a rebuild going on, the last thing I think we're going to do is going to be looking at letting go of players like Jarrod Bowen. Yes, there will be players leaving West Ham United, and I'm going to talk about one or two of those in a moment. But to actually contemplate that Jarrod Bowen might be one of them is really those are the kind of rumours that I think really don't have substance. Yes, of course, I'm sure Newcastle would love to have him at the club, at their club, but I don't think it's going to happen. And it's a little bit distracting and it's a little bit annoying, to be honest. So let's go on to some of the players that could well be leaving West Ham this summer. The first off is Nathan Trott. After 2 very successful seasons on loan to Vejle BK, Trott has attracted the attention of several Danish clubs, and it's suggested that FC Copenhagen are leading the race to sign the goalie for a fee of around 2 million euros. Now, 2 seasons ago, Trott was instrumental in helping Vejle BK win promotion to the Danish Super League. In the season that's just passed, he's helped them to stay in the Super League. And his performances have not gone unnoticed. He made 31 appearances in all competitions last season, all of them as a starting goalie. He was only on the bench a couple of times, mainly in cup competitions. He conceded, so they considered him to be their number one. He conceded 35 goals, but essentially kept 8 clean sheets in all competitions. Now, we only recently extended Trott's contract by a further 2 years at West Ham. There was a clause in his contract to trigger a further 2 years. And I kind of hoped that maybe he might become our third choice keeper. Now, look, we hear that we're looking for another keeper to come in. And we know that Joseph Anang has been released by the club. And at Trott, at 25 years of age, I thought, well, maybe now's his time. He's gone out on loan to several clubs. He was on loan briefly to Wimbledon. He went to French club Nancy a couple of seasons ago. And as I've mentioned, he spent 2 good seasons at Vejle. So I thought that maybe he'd be the sort of player that after sort of serving his time on loan, he can now come back in and claim a place in the senior squad. He's 25 years of age. He came to West Ham when he just turned 17, recommended by Clyde Best at the time. Now, whilst we're being constantly linked to various goalies, who seem, most of them that we're linked to, or just seem to manage to fill a homegrown spot, I do wonder why we're not offering Trott that opportunity. Look, Copenhagen are a good club. They certainly be challenging for honours. I think they won the league not last season, but the season before. And they could also, if they win I don't know if they finished their qualifiers, but they could be playing European football in the Europa Conference League next season as well. So they're a good team to grow as a player at. Their main goalie of last season, Kamil Grabara, will be joining German club Wolfsburg this summer. Despite having other goalies at their disposal, it looks as if they believe that Trott could become their number one keeper next season. To be honest with you, I wouldn't let Nathan Trott go on a permanent deal. I'd actually suggest that maybe he goes. He's got 2 years on his contract. I would suggest that maybe he goes out on loan for one season at Copenhagen. He'll be playing a much higher caliber of football. Challenging for honours and see how he gets on. Monitor him, and you could put in a clause in the contract with an option to buy rather than obligation to buy. And if he does really, really well, then why not get him back to become a challenger for Alphonse Areola, or certainly become his number two? Look, Lucas Fabianski has only got one season left at West Ham. I doubt very much he'll get another season after the season coming up. And also, the likes of Wes Fodringham and other goalies that we've been linked to, we signed them on a short-term deal, 1 or 2 seasons, then we can have someone like Trott proving his worth again. And if he's done well, get him back. But anyway, that's the first one. The next one is Naya for Gerd. Now, look, we keep hearing stories about a Gerd, and it looks as if that a Gerd is the sort of player that, despite the fact that we've got a new head coach in, he will be leaving. I've said before, he's been unsettled in the Premier League. Many people suggested that was because of the way David Moyes played his football, but it seems that, despite Moyes leaving, there's still interest in Agerd wanting to go, and there's interest from clubs like Atletico Madrid, apparently, and his old club Rons apparently are interested in him. And there's still rumour that Saudi clubs might be interested. But so far, no firm bids have come in. Look, we don't really have to sell the player. And I say this because he's still got several years left on his contract. Look, I still think that under Lopetegui, he could be the type of central defender that might relish playing for that kind of coach. So I don't think we're in a hurry to sell. Yes, we want the money to invest, and I know we have interests in other central defenders, and money coming from Agerd will go towards buying another central defender. But I don't think we're in that much of a rush to sell him on the cheap. There's been suggestions that we might let him go for maybe 20, 25 million pounds. But I'm not so sure. I think West Ham United are going to want to make as much money back on that player as possible. Next up, and it comes as no surprise, is Kurt Zouma. West Ham United are willing to listen to offers for Zouma in this transfer window. At 29, he should be maturing like a fine wine, but alas, injuries have caught up with him or catching up with him, and there's no way we can rely on him for another season at West Ham. As I've mentioned in previous shows, Zouma's injury record was well known to us way before he signed for West Ham United. He had knee injuries way back in 2012. He had knee surgery in that year, which saw him miss 26 games for Saint-Etienne. When he signed for Chelsea, injuries again hit him hard, where he suffered a cruciate ligament tear, which kept him out for more than the season in the 25-16 season. Despite that, Moyes still chased him, spent 30-odd million pounds. I think it was 28 million pounds on the defender. And it wasn't long before he was out again, missing for 10 games in the 21-22 season with a hamstring injury. Since then, in the past 2 seasons, he's missed a further 16 games through various injuries. He looks as if he can barely run at times. And if West Ham are to recoup any reasonable amount of money on him, then I think we should, do what we should do and let him go. I don't know what he'll go for. Maybe a club might put in a bid of something like 15 million pounds for him. If they did that, I think we'd be happy to take it and let him go. Next up is Vladimir Coufal. Now, I said recently that Coufal had his contract extended by a year, and again an automatic year extension in his contract clause. He recently played, didn't he, for Galatasaray? Not Galatasaray. He recently played for his national team, where they lost the other day in the Euros. Coufal does well, but you could see that he's losing more and more pace as it goes on. It was a narrow defeat to Portugal on Tuesday evening. He did all right, but you could see that a fast winger against him can sort of get the better of him. Galatasaray are apparently interested in signing the player. And I don't know what the bid would be. There's been no suggestion as to a value, but we bought him for a modest fee. I think if Galatasaray came in with a bid of maybe 6, 7, 8 million pounds, I think we would let him go. He's a great, in terms of what he offers to West Ham. He's a trier. We love a trier. He's that sort of player that will, wear his heart on his sleeve. He tries really hard, but unfortunately, with the Premier League and with players being faster and faster, I just think that maybe we should be looking to cash in on him and bring a better, younger player to take his place. Next up is Danny Ings. Well, apparently Southampton have rumored to have made an interest. They're interested in him for around about a fee of around about £6 million. Now, they recently signed Adam Lallana back to Southampton, and they see the likes of Lallana and Danny Ings as being sort of senior figures who could probably help the inexperienced Southampton squad, to acclimatise to the Premier League. Kind of makes sense. You've got a young team who have done really well. The last thing you want is for them to suffer in the Premier League. So bringing in a couple of senior players, some stalwarts, could be a good thing. And but apparently Ings is looking at his options. I don't know what options he has out there, but apparently Ings is considering all his options before he makes a decision. Look, £6 million. And for the money he's on, the wages he's on, I think, it'd be a good call to let Ings go. But I guess the biggest surprise this week has been the link for Emerson to AC Milan. Now, I don't know what to make of this, to be quite honest with you. Milan have Theo Hernandez, the French international, who's currently out with the French team. He played the full 90 minutes against Austria the other day. It's suggested that Hernandez wants a move back to somewhere like Real Madrid, who sold him to the Italian club in 2019 for a fee of around 23 million euros. Now, Emerson has become quite a favourite player of mine, to be quite honest with you. When he first arrived, I wasn't sure about him. I wasn't really overly impressed with his defensive qualities when he was at Chelsea, but he seemed to be the sort of player that was far more comfortable as a wing back, doing an awful lot of attacking rather than an awful lot of defending. But he's turned me round. I think he's had some fantastic performances for West Ham over the past couple of seasons. I doubt very much Lopetegui will want him to leave. I know we're linked to a number of left backs, but I'm not so sure if Lopetegui will want him to leave, because he is the kind of left-sided defender that will perfectly suit Lopetegui's style of football. So I'd be surprised if we let him go. I'd be sorry if we let him go, to be quite honest with you. I think he's become a decent player, 29 years of age. He's still got a couple of seasons in him that he could serve for West Ham United. But let's see what happens there. Look, there are plenty of other stories around. I'm going to do another video to talk about the players that we're linked to, the latest players that we're linked to. The show would have gone on far too long. It's already about 18, 19 minutes long as it is, just talking about the players that could be leaving. But all I would say to you guys is the usual. Don't believe all the guff that's out there. Don't believe all the rumours that are out there. Many of them are just that. They're just rumours, and they serve. The one thing they do serve to do is to wind up the fan base. The whole thing about Bowen, I don't believe it. I'm 50-50 on the Emerson, but the ones that are looking, like we will be getting rid of players, the likes of Agurd, the likes of Zuma, quite possibly the likes of Soufal as well, Danny Ings as well, could certainly be leaving the club. But when it comes to Bowen, I doubt it very much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Like I said, if you're yet to be a subscriber of the channel, do become a subscriber, and I'll see you again very soon.